He used petrol tanks, propane canisters, fireworks, fertiliser and this alarm clock as a timer, but the makeshift devices didn't explode. Shahzad was captured on the runway 2 days later aboard an Emirates plane bound for Dubai. "I've been waiting for you," he reportedly told his captors. And here's the Connecticut apartment from where Shahzad allegedly plotted the attacks. Court documents say he received $12,000 from the Pakistani Taliban and went to Waziristan for explosives training. But what was Shahzad's motivation? He told the judge he was against the US occupation of Afghanistan, Iraq and Somalia. His guilty plea was no surprise. He's been cooperating with the authorities. He faces a maximum penalty of life imprisonment and will be sentenced in October. Faisal Shahzad's bomb may have been amateurish, but if it had exploded, it could have caused serious damage here. Since the 9/11 attacks, Americans have become used to thinking of the threat as coming from outside their country. But Shahzad is the latest in a series of American Muslims to become radicalised. Laura Trevelyan, BBC News, New York.
Plugging the leak is still at least a month and a half away, but British energy giant BP is hopeful of making some progress well before then. It says it's on course to trap more oil from the massive spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Further ships used to take away the oil are arriving in the next few weeks. But coordinating this effort is proving a challenge. The operation's being run from BP's Crisis Center in Houston in Texas. And our environment correspondent, David Shookman, is one of the few journalists to have been given access.
Here in the outskirts of Houston, I'm at BP's Crisis Center. This is where they're trying to work out how to stop the oil leaking from the ocean floor. After 2 months, they have started to capture more of it, but there's a long way to go, as I've been finding out on a rare visit inside.
Yeah, this is our full-time crisis center.
I'm shown around by one of the most senior executives, Kent Wells. BP is a company in serious trouble. This is where the operations to stop the leak are coordinated and where they're finding it a real struggle. How frustrating is it for you that we're now 2 months on and there's still a lot of oil leaking out?
It's terribly frustrating. I mean, none of us are happy about that, and that's the reason why people are so dedicated. I mean, a lot of these guys have been working from day one, haven't had a day off. I mean, we've been working 24/7.
The operation to trap the oil is making some progress, but critics say BP should have got on with this sooner. What do they make of that here?
We must remember we're a mile below the surface of the ocean here. This type of activity has never been done in this depth of water, so we're designing new equipment, new procedures, new approaches just to allow us to do this. So it takes time to do that.
BP is now caught up in a storm of criticism and lawsuits, but the focus here is simply on stopping the leak, and the best estimate for that, not before August. David Shookman, BBC News in Houston.
You're watching BBC World News. Coming up, all the latest World Cup action.
I'm David Eads here in Cape Town. 7-0 to Portugal in the stadium here yesterday. More goals than sardines in a tin. We'll have the pick of them and Spain's resurgence at this World Cup coming up in a moment.
Now look at some more of the main stories from around the UK today. The British National Institute for Clinical Excellence says thousands of lives could be saved every year if we eat fewer ready-made cakes and biscuits. And it's calling for healthy food to be cheaper, as well as a complete ban on trans fats. This report from our health correspondent, Jane Hughes.
High in fat, loaded with salt, the hidden ingredients causing about 40,000 unnecessary deaths a year from heart disease and stroke. NICE says if the food industry did more, many of them could be prevented. It wants a total ban on the most harmful trans fats, often found in fast food, cakes and biscuits. Subsidies to make healthy food cheaper. And a halving in salt intake in the next 15 years. All of which would, they say, have a huge impact on cardiovascular disease.
This is a preventable illness. It's not some mystery virus that we don't know anything about. It's not some cause we don't understand. We do understand it. And the food that we eat is an intrinsic part of that causation.
We're used to being told as individuals to eat more healthily, but this is about something more, about NICE asking the whole food industry to work together so that when we rush into a supermarket looking for something quick and easy, the thing we grab is also healthy.
Food companies have already gone some way to cut salt and fat. M&S has brought about big changes.
Reformulation of foods is only one part of that, and ultimately what we need to do is sort of shift people from a really young age to get them realising that healthy food's great and it can be tasty too.
And the Department of Health says the best way to improve health is to eat better and do more exercise. Jane Hughes, BBC News.
A series of government-funded scientific studies is being set up to investigate the decline in insect pollinators. Honeybees, bumblebees, hoverflies and moths fertilise